Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Way of the Dragon. Today's episode is going to be a little different from the other episodes. We don't have a single topic in mind which we're going to pursue, but instead we opted to go after random topics and discussions like FAQs, which are generally discussed or sometimes not discussed in the martial arts world. And with us, we have one member less today, and our most contributing speaker, Amy, has not been able to attend today. So, Amy, we're going to miss you. But I'm also thankful that we have three other experienced guys with us. Robert, please say hello to everyone.
Hi, guys.
Also, Ricky. You guys know Ricky, and obviously, you guys do love him because he's a fun character. Ricky, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Let's pour one out for our homie Amy.
Yep, definitely do that. And Tim, we have Tim with us. He's our most dedicated member. So say hi, Tim.
Hello and hi, everybody.
Okay, so without further ado, let's start. And before we discussed this, before we started, we were thinking of naming this episode something, and I saw somewhere we've written Martial Mixer. So whatever comes to mind when you say that. Robert?
Maybe let's start with Tim.
Okay.
I have a
Okay,
very
we get
clear
it. You're a
picture
bit-
in mind.
Yeah,
I have
okay,
this kitchen mixer in front of me, and I just threw in different martial arts and push the button and watch what happens.
Oh.
That's a nice way to put it.
So what happens
So, Rick-
when you do that?
Maybe we get some pain compliance working in the real world, or I don't know.
'Cause I had a way different idea of what Martial Mixer would mean. I thought we would all get, a few shots, start chugging, and then as we're like inebriated, we would come up with random, incoherent questions, and then just go from there.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
So I'm gonna reframe the question because we started off on the wrong foot, and I'm going back to Robert again. Robert, what kind of martial arts have you done?
The only martial art I've ever done is Wing Chun.
Okay. How was your experience with it?
I absolutely love Wing Chun. It's a great passion of mine, and I'm interested in other martial arts, but definitely Wing Chun will always be my core martial art.
Right. And how long have you been doing this?
6 years.
Well, that's a lot. So I'm guessing that you're quite proficient with it. So I'm guessing you're quite proficient with it. And so could you get into the details of, not like copious details, but little details of what you have done so far and how it felt and how it changed you?
The reason I started Wing Chun, I'd never done a martial art before. My sister saw a news thing about these girls who got captured and taken into some guy's basement, and they were stuck there for like 10 years or something. You guys may have heard about it. But anyway, she came to me one day and she's like, Rob, I don't ever want that to happen to me. I need to be able to defend myself. That we need to find a martial art. And at that point, I had never done a martial art, but I had seen a little bit about Wing Chun, seen that it was very direct, very scientific, not as much a performance art as much as a very direct self-defense art. And I said, if there's any martial art I'm going to do, the only one I want to do is Wing Chun. And she's like, please come with me. Let's go take a class. I want to learn a little bit of self-defense. And I said, well, yeah, the problem is you're not going to find a martial art, a Wing Chun teacher in our area. So she did a little Google search and found that there actually was a school. We went, and I went very reluctantly, but I was supporting my sister. And once I got there, the instructor really sold me, and I actually got excited. And then I went to the first class, and from the first class, I was instantly hooked. And ever since then, I've been very passionate about Wing Chun. It's something I think about daily. I practice daily, even if I don't go to my school. And it's changed my life in a lot of ways. It's made me more physically fit. It's made me more disciplined. It's changed my work. It's changed the way I interact with people. It really has intertwined into my entire life.
Okay, Tapa seems to be gone.
Tapa's muted. I can see from here.
What?
Oh, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a mistake, but that was a really great story, Robert, and it was like quite inspiring. And I feel so great after listening to that. I'm like super hyped about going to the next class. But I'm gonna take a guess here, and I think this is true for every martial artist. Well, the legit ones at least. When I say this, that you always make mistakes on the road. So, Robert, what would be your message to the beginners so they don't make the same mistakes that maybe you made?
Mistakes that I've made in martial arts, not training enough, for one. I mean, you definitely can never really train enough if it's something that you're passionate about.
I mean, there's nothing called training enough.
Also, I would say not being open-minded enough. Like, you can't always sit there and think that your perspective on martial arts is going to be the best. Maybe your style, whatever. You need to be open-minded to other perspectives. And as of recent, I've really become aware of that.
Right. That's really great. Vicky, anything to say to that?
Yeah, I was hearing this little story about Robert's sister and him getting into martial arts. And I was curious, is there anything in particular that applies specifically to women's martial arts that you would either recommend or would like to point out, since there's seems to be an idea that women's martial arts and men's martial arts are somehow different?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think that, and I might be biased just because Wing Chun is the art that I've studied the most, but I can tell you that Wing Chun, due to the concepts, principles, the way that the art is trained, at least in my lineage, allows for women to, and people, not just women, but people who are smaller, weaker, to overcome more powerful and strong, bigger people. And it's through using angles, leverage, all sorts of different physics, basically. I mean, if you just are sitting there trading blows with a person like in boxing, if you're weaker, smaller, generally speaking, you will lose. And with something like Wing Chun, we don't plan on that. We don't plan on trading blows with a person. We plan on capitalizing on using their weight, their height, different things against them, using angles and different. It's hard to explain, but basically, we try. I'll tell you, I'm 220 pounds, 6 feet tall, and there are 100-pound, 5-foot girls that you would be really, really stupid to underestimate. Like, they can whoop my ass, they can whoop other people's ass. It's just because they understand how to use your weight against you, use your size against you, move to different angles, get behind you, use those things. And so I think women, need to, or people who are weaker, need to really think about those kind of things, because if you just try and go force against somebody, you're going to lose, period. If it's strength, weight, you will lose. So you have to try and capitalize on those other little nuances that give you an advantage.
That's very interesting. How would you point out the differences in what you said right now in regards to Wing Chun and women's self-defense, and then contrast it with all the other systems that perhaps, according to you, don't do that?
I don't know that all systems use the same idea of the shortest, the fastest between point A and point B is a straight line. A lot of arts will use big circular motions, whatnot. That's one thing. For two, we use very direct, straight, to the point footwork, hand motions. Not everybody does that. Circular motions are slower, but they are effective. And in Wing Chun, we are able to simultaneously defend an attack. So let's say, for instance, a hook punch comes in. We're not going to block, then hit. It's a simultaneous block and attack. We use a lot of simultaneous block and defend and attack at the same time. Some other martial arts use that, but a lot don't. A lot depend on an exchange. It's I block, I attack, whatever. We go straight in. In Wing Chun, we have a saying: "End the confrontation in 3 seconds or less." It's not a sport. It's not a fight. It's, if you come at me, I'm going to come for your throat. I'm going to go for your groin. I'm going to try and end you as fast as possible.
So I'm seeing a lot of similarities in Wing Chun and what I do, that is JKD. The things you said, like from a point A to point B, the fastest route is a straight line. And my Shifu always said the same thing, that if you are going brute force against brute force, one of them is bound to be weaker than the other and he falls. But if you use your mind and instead of clashing with the brute force, you parry it or redirect it somehow, then you can use it to your advantage. Like you said, Robert, angles and the center line theory, that's something that not many people understand. And since you're Wing Chun guy, I think that you can explain it better than most people here. So center line theory, that's a very interesting topic.
It really is.
What about Tim? What does he think about this, specifically the way Robert described Wing Chun? Is it that much different than Shotokan?
We have the almost same principles like blocking or parrying and attacking at the same time. We call it DI. So I see similarities there on the principle base, not on the technical execution, because there the motions are pretty different to each other.
Yeah, so principle-wise, it seems like that's more of a universal concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I have this kind of an ideology that I mean, style to style martial arts may differ, but on a certain level, when you reach a high enough level, it's the same principles because I mean, it's the human body after all. You can't, I mean, have different movements. So if it's the same movements, so the same principle is also involved. So the style might be different, but the principle pretty much is the same at a high enough level. Could be wrong though. Could no one hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I heard you. So
Yeah, okay,
technically speaking, in regards to women's self-defense, you guys would say that the best way would just be to train regularly, like nothing special, nothing alternative, just focus on what's already proven to work.
Well, no, yes and no. Go ahead, Tim.
I would say in one thing for weekly training or regular training, they need to find a martial art that fits them. You can't point out they have to do boxing, they have to do BJJ, whatever fits them, to their body type, to their mindset. There's also, if I'm getting the term women's self-defense, I'm thinking of shorter seminars with incorporate awareness, de-escalation, threat detection, all this stuff. And for women's self-defense, I think the approach is different to teaching males, because the kind of violence they experience out there is different than violence between two males. So I think the things they fear are different, like robbery, kidnapping, rape. Especially rape is not a thing that happens in that big numbers to men compared to women in numbers. So I think women want answers to these questions they have, or the things they fear. How can I defend against a rape attempt or a robbery or a kidnapping? So you have to address these kind of fears, and from there on you can figure out, okay, you can do it best with Wing Chun, you can do it best with Muay Thai, depending on the person.
But I've also heard this exactly like what Robert said, that people with small stature, Wing Chun would suit them really good because, you know, if you have a small stature, it would be easier for you to get in. And I mean, in my experience, if you can get inside the guard of the opponent, it's game over there, especially if you know Wing Chun.
Yeah, in my experience, I've heard that from almost every system.
Yeah,
and I've seen it in almost every system as well.
So with what you just said, Enrique, would you say that a small 100-pound boxer girl would have an advantage over a bigger male?
Yeah.
With the same style.
okay, so a 100-pound girl who has boxing experience over a 250-pound, 6'3" guy, and they're going to try and just trade blows. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, from this specific example, it seems that it would be a very one-sided fight towards the girl.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree there.
Like, for example, we know people that are like in their low hundreds. For example, a lot of people say Bruce Lee was a killer. Debatable. And there's other people like super featherweights and stuff. And they have no issue with fighting somebody like of my size. And I have no issue fighting somebody of their size and skill set. If it's a pro fight, I'm fully aware I'm most likely gonna lose, so I'm gonna put my money on the other guy. But if it was somebody of my size without any training, like it wouldn't even be like a fight. I would just be like, okay, Mighty Mouse is fighting 255-pound generic guy. Okay, well, I already know who's gonna win. Like, don't even need to watch it. So that's why in this scenario I say clearly that little girl has way too much of an advantage.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So back to where I was.
We've seen like 200 and something pound quote unquote semi-professional guys fighting like 120, 130 martial artists and have the martial artists win like 9 out of 10 times. So like usually we see women are smaller and weaker, yeah, but once you train and actually gain proficiency in combat, then the size isn't that big of a deal. Especially if you're fighting somebody else that's not up to par on your skill level. If they're the same skill, obviously, well, that's a big deal. And if it's equal skill level, a 250-pound guy is going to have trouble with a 250-pound guy. So then that's a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, any sort of training, no matter what the martial art, is going to give, let's say, the 100-pound girl an advantage. I mean, obviously it will, but do you guys think that there's a type of martial art, or rather it be a sport training or more of a self-defense training that gives that person an advantage?
In my opinion, whatever martial art is able to, like, not the system, just like the instructor, that's able to teach them how to fight within, like, the pocket. You know, when you're either grappled, you're clinching, you're at really close range, you're against the wall, something like that. That's the school, that's the instructor, that's the class that you want to take if you feel that you're weak. Because that's the scenario that has the most variables and gives the biggest advantage to the big person. If you train on something like Muay Thai and it's only sport, there's certain advantages that you're looking for. For example, throwing roundhouses at max range is better than going in there and trying to outbox the other guy. So maybe in that scenario, the training isn't going to be as good as if you go with another teacher that's going to teach you how to box inside, throw elbows, and get out of the clinch. Even though technically both teachers should do that.
Interesting point. I mean, it really is a good point, you know, because I've thought a lot about this, and I consider my training not to be sports type training. I'm not training to go in and go a couple rounds with somebody. But what you just said makes a lot of sense. I mean, ultimately, any martial art that, let's say, a weaker person trains is going to help them. But then, it's something I've thought about is like, okay, what martial arts focus more on sports and what focus more on self-defense if you're randomly attacked or if you're a weaker person against a stronger person.
What about you, Tim? What do you think about that?
I haven't got the question completely.
Which martial art or which martial training do you think would be better suited towards somebody that's weak, seeking to, even out the playing field?
Whoa.
Like specifically somebody that's weak.
Maybe specifically, I would go with some kind of jiu-jitsu, not the sports type. More like you described. Just technically wise, I would prefer.
I'm kind of biased towards JKD trapping because you don't need much strength for trapping.
Trapping, locking, anything in that direction. Using your opponent's body weight and strength to your advantage.
Hey, quick question here, Robert. Does Wing Chun have pendulum footwork?
What kind of footwork? I'm sorry.
Pendulum footwork. It's a kind of movement where you quickly dash in and out of your opponent's switch.
Definitely. I mean, and it really depends on what lineage and what school you go to, but the footwork is a huge focus in my school. We focus on being able to quickly move in any direction. We generally don't move backwards. We try to not step back as much as possible or retreat unless obviously needed. If you're in there fighting with somebody and they're overwhelming you, you need to get out and then regroup and get back in. But yeah, I mean, we have footwork where we step in real quick, hit, and get back. Is that what you're talking about?
If I describe it, it's like bringing your back leg close to your front leg, and as soon as it's about to reach the front leg, you throw the front leg out, and in the same stance that you were holding before. But it's and you move back in the same way. So like quickly move in, hit, and come out without them even realizing. It's like a lightning fast movement.
Like fencing footwork.
Yeah, so you would get in, deliver a jab, and get back out. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. It's kind of close to fencing, but I know it's taken from fencing, but I was curious if Wing Chun has that too.
Yeah, definitely. You get in, hit, get out, but our philosophy is if you get in, hit, and you have the ability to continue striking, you should continue striking. I mean, there's no point in playing the game of get in, I hit you, and now I'm back out, and I'm going to get in and hit you again. If you get in and hit the person and they're distracted, I mean, you just go in and follow through and end it. I mean, at the end of the day, our goal is to end the fight as quickly as possible. And so if you're in there and you hit them in the face and they're distracted, I'm going to follow up with multiple strikes to the face, whatever. You're not going to just like, I got you, and then I'm back here again, and I'm going to get you again.
Yep. Also, one thing I'd like to mention is the pendulum footwork is more advantageous because, I said that we get in, hit, and get out, but there's another thing that you can get in, hit, and when you're getting out, you can follow through. You can still follow through even when you're getting out.
So if they follow you, or what do you mean?
What I'm trying to say is, suppose I get in, then I do a straight lead, and Like when people just come at you blindly, they won't be stopped by just one hit. So even if he keeps coming back while getting out, I can follow through with a kick, and when he stopped, I can get in again and finish the fight. Is it clear now?
No, yeah, you're clear. So I have a question. What do you guys do to improve your footwork? What type of training do you guys do to speed up your footwork, make you more light on the feet? Is there any specific tricks or anything that you guys have?
What my shifu usually says is to stay on your toes. Literally, I mean, not like the expression, but like literally stay on your toes and bend your knees a little. That gives you the stability, and stay on your toes. That keeps your feet light and springy. And when moving in or out, with enough practice, you barely move it off ground, and you're back touching the ground again. Yeah.
Okay,
but
any specific exercises that you do? Do you guys jump rope? Do you
we do that rope thing. I don't know what it's called, but jump ropes. I think you know that where you swing the rope overhead and then jump over it and then swing it again.
Yeah, that's jump rope. Hey, Tim, I have a question for you. So in karate, how important is footwork, and what do you guys do to see in Wing Chun? We have a specific training we do. We call it in English. It's triangle footwork. We literally draw a triangle on the ground with a line down the middle, and all of our footwork can be done on a triangle. What do you guys do in karate that's similar?
That's a tricky one. There is the footwork of the sports sparring, the tap game, the kumite. You will see in the Olympics soon, sadly. They jump all the time. It's looking like two kangaroos fighting. That is one footwork we have in karate. I don't really like that. The other thing is more like moving from a natural high stance into every direction we need to. You have difficult to explain. you have the stances in karate, these wide, rigid positions you see in kata or basic training. These stances just depict how you shift your body weight from a natural position forward, downwards, or backwards, downwards, or which direction you need to go. So there is, I wouldn't say there is actual footwork in Shotokan karate. I do, but in different karate styles like Shorin-ryu, you definitely have some kind of footwork. It looks like you're ice skating over the floor. The feet barely leave the ground.
Okay, that's interesting. So do you guys have specific names for different types of steps that you do? Or, like in Wing Chun, we have literally names for different types of steps, and we practice and drill different types of steps in different patterns. Is that something that you do in karate, or is there not something like that?
There is something like that. We have something called Suriashi. It's a gliding motion forwards or backwards. Maybe something.
Yeah, we have something like that.
Think of right now.
Yeah, we have something like that. It's called Byuma, which means piercing step, and it's straight forward into or straight back. We have we have a name for the side step. We have a name for a bracing step, different types of motion. And I was just curious if there's something similar to that in the type of karate that you've done.
Yeah, the stances have their names, like Senkutsu Dachi in English, it's called front stance. We have the back stance, where you deliver your body weight backwards, downwards on your back feet, and the front leg is only with 25 to 30% of your body weight, so you have a good way of kicking fast. So yeah, our positions got names. Like, seems similar to Wing Chun.
Okay, yeah, I was curious about that. And how much of the hand motions have different principles in them? Like, I'm curious about karate. I've never had any sort of exposure to it. But like, if I'm trying to find the words to explain what I mean. How many of the things in your kata have some sort of hidden reason that you're doing them in them?
Not really hidden, but every motion you see in the karate kata has numerous ways to be explained or to be applicated. Maybe you know of the karate down block, these diagonal downward motion. Rick Clark wrote a book about that motion and showing 79 applications for them.
Wow, 79, huh?
79 only for that motion, and you can say for around 20 to 30 techniques or applications for one technique when you look at a kata. So there are very vast amounts of applications you can find in the kata, but mainly it is going with the names. Sadly, our techniques got names, so something is called a block, even if it isn't. It's a strike, it's a lock, it's set up for a throw, but the name says it's a block. So mostly when people try to do kata with a partner, they follow what they see. You get what you see. Maybe pronounce it that way. So you see a blocking motion, and there, okay, for that thing to work, you need to throw a kick. That motion makes sense. But the motion can be so many other stuff. So the majority of karateka just works on the very surface of the kata. Fuck, is that hard to explain?
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine, Tim.
You're doing fine.
So what you're saying is that usually it's taught one way, and then in order to learn everything else, it requires a lot of study because it has a lot of variation that for the student it's not easy to see the first couple times.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant with we spoke earlier about with my jiu-jitsu training, that jiu-jitsu opened my eyes for karate techniques. So I saw different applications in a motion I only thought of as a blocking technique, or even as a technique with no sense at all, like a decorational technique or symbolic way. And it is widely taught that way. Some opening movements of kata are taught as a symbolic movement to show peace, or we are all one under the sun, and stuff like that. And only the cross training opened the idea of, well, there's something else behind that. Because I recognize the motions I did to get rid of a two-handed grab, for example.
That makes perfect sense. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I've had that same thing where in the forums it's seemed one way, and then I end up realizing that there's a lot of other reasons for it, or yeah, I mean, a lot of other reasons that we do it. That makes perfect sense what you're saying.
And it was very frustrating to be at a point doing karate for 15, 16 years and then getting to the point where, wow, there's so much more I don't know. And there's so much more the vast majority in Germany doesn't teach because they don't know too. So I had to really think of where to get new informations because there are no teachers available at all to be taught in that direction.
So do you think, I mean, definitely teachers open your mind to new ideas about what techniques can be. I mean, when I went out to Texas recently, I had my own ideas about all the techniques that I've been studying for the last 6 years, and I go out there and I went with a completely open mind, and they use a lot of the same movements differently. And I think a lot of it relies on the teacher or the input, but also a lot of it relies on us being open-minded to the different potential uses of what we're doing. And I think that's a very important point, that we have to be open-minded and see things not exactly for what we're shown that they're for, but really question what else can be done with this specific movement that we've been shown.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I
love.
Go ahead.
I love it being on seminars and recognizing emotion I've been doing for years and seeing a completely new application for it. Even if you're at seminars in completely different styles, like I attend for fun seminars in Sambo, in what was the last one, Hapkido. So that was pretty interesting to see a complete different style and so many similarities. Like Tapa said before, the human body has only a limited amount of movements, so we all have similarities in the styles and ways we move, principle-wise.
Yeah, that's very true. There is only limited movements, and like you can watch someone execute a certain movement and go, oh, that's Muay Thai. Oh no, that's karate. Oh no, that's a Wing Chun punch, whatever. And that really brings up the point where all of us martial art nerds really have to evaluate the very subtle differences to someone who, with an untrained eye, looks at it and goes, oh, well, that was just a punch. And you're sitting there going, no, that wasn't just a punch. That was a centerline punch, or no, his elbow was slightly flared out. And it's interesting how just the slightest change in technique or application really changes the whole thing and makes it more effective or less, depending on how it's delivered and applied.
Seems like we're moving in the direction of body dynamics.
Speaking of body dynamics, exactly what I was going to say next is, have you guys read the news about Iranian Hulk fighting the Brazilian Hulk.
Who?
What?
The Iranian Hulk fighting the Brazilian Hulk. Those are two guys, two bodybuilders who, they are really huge, and they are gonna fight in a UFC match.
What about it? What's the question?
Well, how would it be different from normal UFC fights? More interesting, more involved with power, since they're like super huge guys.
Well, they're not martially trained, are they?
I think not. As far as I know, they are not. But of course, I think they will undergo some sort of training before they are fined. But of course, it's not going to for years of experience.
So basically, two brawlers in a ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they'll just like either go at each other really hard or they'll try to wrestle a little bit, and they will get tired really, really quick. 'Cause if your muscles are too big, you need more oxygen to go through them. So that's bound to tire you out a lot quicker.
That's something I really don't get. I mean, if you see their workout videos, you see them working out constantly and like tirelessly. So how do they get tired in a fight?
It's different. That's why you're using your whole body. You have adrenaline going through there. You're getting hit. When you're working out, you're not getting hit. When you're lifting weights, it's even if it's hard, it's really, really easy compared to fighting.
And you use different types of muscle fibers.
Yeah, like for example, I lift weights. I do like 40-pound dumbbells and stuff, and it hurts, like it burns, and I do get tired eventually when I'm done. But I can also do the same thing and do some boxing, and that's gonna tire me out a lot quicker because I'm actually using everything from my feet all the way up to like shoulders, waist, hips, arms, proper form, and all that. When you're lifting weights, I mean, you still need proper form, but the form isn't as picky as when you're fighting.
It's isolated to that muscle, generally speaking, or at least the area of that muscle. But go get a heavy bag, a really, really heavy bag, and go to town on it. Just beat the hell out of it. If you can just go nonstop punching it like it's an enemy for more than a couple minutes, then you're in good shape because you'll be exhausted within a couple minutes.
Right. Also, something, close to that discussion is how people who train for sports train differently than people who are actually training for self-defense or recreationally. Like the sports people, they generally train for endurance, and they train more cardio to be able, so they don't gas out easily. But self-defense fighters, they're like training to quickly end the fight and run away, and so that's different.
Well, and that depends. Definitely combat sports people train for, they train for 12 rounds if you're a boxer, 3 really crazy rounds, or 5 if you're doing MMA. But it depends on the school. Like my Wing Chun school, for the first hour of our class, it is very intense cardio. To where we don't stop for a solid hour. We go from one exercise to the next. We do 1,000 punches and then do 20 sets of 4 different kinds of push-ups, crawl along the floor. So it depends. It's not necessarily, and our school isn't sports oriented. We don't do sparring. We do sparring, but we don't go in and do combat fighting. We don't go and get in a ring and fight. But I think it depends on the training. But I think at the end of the day, if you want to be able to go for a long period of time in a fight, you have to do the cardio and stuff that's going to translate to a fight.
I think it's also like, if MMA is a sport, so you have to condition yourself to be able to perform in that sport. The same way a basketball player is not gonna perform the same as a football player if they switch places, even though they're both like top tier athletes. It's just not what you trained for. Just like somebody that's really good at cooking Mexican food isn't gonna be automatically good at making Italian food just because they're a really good cook.
Very good point.
Nice analogy. That's a really good analogy, and it's making me hungry.
What's that? Could you repeat that?
No, I cannot. Not even close. I'm never saying that again.
He said it's a very good analogy.
Oh yeah, I said that. I didn't say anything after that. So that was a really good discussion. And so what do we talk about next? Seems like we're at an impasse.
What about pain compliance? Is pain compliance a thing, or
you mean like my kid gets out of line and I smack him around, or you mean like a real adult?
Or do you mean like a wrist lock or something to where like I hurt you? Yeah.
I'm more aiming in the direction of wrist locks, arm locks, and so on. Because we all know people who's...
Yeah, I think it works, but it's very, very situational. For example, wrist lock that's gonna work, like the way a cop does it, puts your hand behind your back and stuff. Technically works all the time, but then there's always gonna be that one guy that just doesn't feel it, and is gonna ignore it. And because he doesn't feel it, he'll be able to get out of it. So, like, thinking of pain compliance that it's gonna work is not very smart, in my opinion.
To rely on it. Yeah, I agree. To rely on it is, it's a gamble. When I was down in Texas, Jason Malik, that guy, if you punched him in the face, he would literally smile at you. It didn't hurt him. I mean, he truly enjoys pain. That's different than me. I try and avoid pain, but he kind of likes it. He's one of those people that likes to be hurt, and he likes you to punch him hard. And when you get into adrenaline and all that stuff, it really changes. I mean, a wrist lock, whatever, would be different on me as opposed to him. And so, yeah, I don't think to rely on pain compliance is a very good idea. I think it's more of a good idea to go for vital targets to where it doesn't matter if you like pain or can handle pain or not. If you're disabled, it doesn't really matter.
I think you should rely more on the technique, not on the pain that it can inflict. Like, for example, a wrist lock is fine, but if you stop at this is gonna hurt, then they might get out of it. As opposed to if you just keep going and let them decide when they're gonna stop. And if they don't, oh well, too bad.
Then you break it.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a really good example for this because, like Ricky said, when the wrist lock is applied when your hand is turned behind your back, and I'm gonna be honest, I do not feel that. My Shifu has tried, my peers have tried doing that to me. It does not work on me. I don't feel that pain. But there's also another kind of wrist lock where you turn the wrist down and you fold your forearm up to your shoulders and you press hard, and that works on me. So it's like the same thing, but it's applied a bit differently, and the second one works on me. So if someone didn't know me and he tried the first one, I'd easily get out of it.
That's an interesting point because, I mean, there are people who are really flexible and stuff like that to where it's not going to be as effective. In our training, we focus on if we're going to do what's called China, which is, Chinese grappling, seize, locking type stuff, we don't, I mean, it's like focusing on the elbow or dislocating the shoulder. It's like breaking the arm, the shoulder. If we go into some sort of seize, lock, we don't do any pain compliance. It's like if I'm going to break your arm, I'm going to break your elbow. And it's not a matter of if you can handle it or not. I'm breaking
It's just gonna make your elbow useless. I mean, even if you don't feel the break, you won't be able to use it.
Right. We go for the disable, and we have in our system. It's we focus a lot on the levels. So basically, there's hurt, which means I'm going to punch you and it hurts. There's injure, which means I bruise you or give you a black eye. There's maim, which means I break your arm. It's never going to be useful again. And then there's kill, which that's obvious.
Yeah.
And you as a practitioner has to decide what you're going to go for to do that. I mean, if it's a drunk guy in a bar, you're obviously not going to go for the throat. You're not going to break their neck or anything like that. You're not going to try and kill them. You just want to hurt that person and get them to back off. So it's situational, and a lot of that is the training that we do. Is you need as a martial artist.
Here, you said drunk guy in a bar, but a drunk guy in a bar is less likely to feel pain.
Yeah, but you also don't want to take advantage of the situation, whether or not they actually feel it. You, as a person that's trained to do these kind of things, you need to know when you got to pull it back. And not just gonna go out there and say, "Oh, well, he didn't feel it, or he kept coming at me." Yeah, well, everybody's always gonna keep coming back at you. You're supposed to be better.
Right. I'm not gonna if I'm in the bar and a guy slaps my wife's ass, I'm not gonna immediately go for his throat and smash his head. I mean, you have to use some discretion as a trained person. You know how to inflict certain types of damage. You have to go, okay, this guy's drunk. He slapped my wife's ass. I might, restrain him or punch him in the face if he, whatever you choose to do. But you have to use that level of knowing how much damage
you want to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's where common sense comes in, because a lot of people like to advertise things like, "Oh, I'm from the military, so I'm really good at martial arts and killing people." And it's like, okay, that's cool, but I'm not in the military, and we're in a public mall, so how about you chill the fuck out and, teach normal stuff? Can't just be teaching everybody to kill people. That's a little bit too much.
Yeah, this is something which people are very pretentious about, that they just consider that whoever can teach you to kill is like the best, because if you know how to kill, you can do all the others too. I mean, it's 100% false.
Which is debatable because, I mean, anybody can accidentally kill. Accidents happen.
Yeah, but
not everybody can hold it back.
Accidentally kill, but nobody can accidentally mime when they're trying to kill someone. Or nobody can accidentally give you a black eye when he's stabbing you. So, I mean, not killing someone while beating the shit out of them requires more restraint than you think.
Yeah, definitely. I know a guy. One of my good friend's brother was breaking up a bar fight, got punched in the head, fell down, and was dead. One punch to the head. He fell down. I don't know if it was the punch or the falling down to the ground, but he only got hit once. He was trying to break up a bar fight and got killed. So when you're having an altercation with somebody, you really have to keep in mind that it could end them. And I don't know, it's one of those things where people can take a ton of punches, not have anything, or they might take one punch and be dead.
Yep. What I usually do, I mean, I have been in quite a few altercations, which I'm not proud of, but what I usually try to do is restrain the people. I mean, I try to stop them from hitting me by somehow binding their arms and legs, but I also try not to hit too hard while I'm doing that. And it's harder. If I am asked to go all out on them, I find it much easier to do.
And that's where, your training comes in, because in my past, before I trained martial arts, even the slightest altercation, I went to seeing red, ready to kill the person, and now I try and
Full throttle.
not go full throttle and just destroy the person, but keep it calm and avoid the altercation, or keep it at the level relative to what the situation is.
Yeah, this is something I'm really surprised at myself that some time ago I'm really being honest, because whenever there'd be some kind of quarrel or something, I'd honestly act like an asshole to anger the other person so that they'd come at me and I'd hit them. I'd honestly do that, so I'd hit them. But now I just try to, okay, bro, calm down. It's nothing. It doesn't matter. I'm leaving and all that. If they still keep coming at me, then I can get to my next phase, which is trying to stop them. But I usually try to avoid it now. And I think this is a saying too, like the more you learn, the more you try to avoid fights. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I've definitely, I will avoid a confrontation at any cost, because it's just, yeah. I'm a peaceful person as it is, but even if I'm threatened, I will try and avoid it, get away. It's not worth it. I mean, the other person has family, they have a mom, they have a dad, or whatever. They have family, they have people who care about them. If you hurt that person just because of an ego or a conflict, it's just a moment, and it's not worth it. We should all avoid confrontation at all costs. I mean, and in my opinion, especially as trained fighters, need to avoid confrontation as much as possible.
Exactly. So we discussed pain compliance, and what's the conclusion? Like it's a gamble. It might work, might not work.
It is, yeah. What do you think, Tim?
It works to a degree. There are people who have to rely on pain compliance, like law enforcement officers, police officers. They are not allowed to break arms or dislocate shoulders.
Because if they did, the world would be way too peaceful. If I found out my local law enforcement was going to put me in cuffs, but then was going to also break my arms, trust me, I'd be like extremely careful while following each and every single law.
So this reminds me of a video I saw that, I don't know, I mean, I don't have much exposure to the American culture or practices or anything. Whatever I have, it's like you guys in movies. So some question I had, I saw a video of an officer asking a guy to show his ID, and he didn't have it with him. He was in a car, so he didn't have it with him, and his family was with him. So they asked his ID, and so when he couldn't produce it, they were going to restrain him. So they asked him to come out the car, and as soon as he opened the door, they jerked him out, and he had a seatbelt on, which quote unquote they didn't see, and it was, and so they assumed that he was resisting and all. So they took out a taser and they chased him like multiple times while his wife and son kept screaming, and ultimately his son had to free him from the seatbelt. And even after which they kept chasing him, and because of chasing him, he kept tensing up. To which they tased him again, saying that he was, resisting, and they went as far to, tase him in his testicles. So, Tim said that, Robert said that whoever said that they are not allowed to break arms, so then how is this right?
It's not right.
I mean, it's called law enforcement for a reason. It's a tough job. Not a lot of nice people join it because it's not a nice job. So you're bound to get a lot of not nice people doing things that are not nice.
Right.
Also,
this is kind of off topic.
To be fair, I also had this lady give me a sandwich at McDonald's that wasn't cooked all the way through, but I don't see anybody complaining about that.
Is that true?
I thought they were pre-cooked, not even real beef. How's that possible?
That's what I thought too, but then I took a bite and it's all like raw in the middle, and then I'm like, well, I guess now I understand why some law enforcement isn't so nice, Everybody makes mistakes.
Because McDonald's?
I mean, if the people at McDonald's can mess it up, so can somebody, on a 36-hour shift.
Yep. We don't have beef here, so McDonald's over here is pretty cooked. It's chicken, so it's cooked.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's sacred.
It's India, bro.
So your McDouble is chicken?
We don't even have a McDouble. We have a chicken Maharaja Mac.
Not gonna lie, that sounds a lot better.
Not really. Maharaja Mac. That's real?
No, that was just a joke from the Big Bang Theory. But yeah, it's mostly chicken, and the only meat we have other than chicken is, I don't even think they have mutton. I think that the only meat we have other than chicken is, it's in Domino's and it's pepperoni, and there's only like one pizza and it's called pepperoni pizza, and that's the only one that has pepperoni. Other than that, everything's chicken.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, it's been quite a long time, and we have talked about a lot, including McDonald's. So I guess it's a wrap. It was a fun episode. Tonight's episode was really different from the others, and somehow it was really great. We should do more episodes like this more often, What are your thoughts, you guys?
Yeah, it was fun chatting with you guys. It just felt like we're sitting around chatting, and I had a good time. Thank you.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it really was good.
Alright, see you next time.
We're going to dedicate this episode to Amy.
Oh yeah, we definitely dedicate this episode to Amy because, I honestly missed her because she has so much input, and I think that even though this was interesting, I think that if she was here, it would have been far more interesting.
I agree. We miss you, Amy.
Yep, we miss you. Anyway, take care, guys. Have a good one, and see you next time.
See you next time.
Good night, guys.
Good night.